Good afternoon, Dr. Juan Castañeda, and thank you for agreeing to talk to the Gold Money Foundation.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
There's been so much talk in the news recently about the Eurozone and the problems with the monetary union and excessive debt in the Eurozone. What kinds of short-term solutions do you think that the European Union will arrive at for plugging the holes in the Eurozone system?
Okay, in the short terms, politicians of all over Europe, all over the Eurozone, I mean, must support the currency, the euro. And what I mean by supporting the currency is that they should put it clear that they are going to rescue the currency in case it is needed. Because we have a very strange implementation of a monetary union in Europe, because we have different countries with different treasuries, different monetary fiscal policies, I'm afraid, and a single central bank. So this is a quite difficult architecture to put in functioning. And this is just regarding the short run, but in the medium to long term, they have to do what they didn't do in the past 10 years, which is to try to make the Eurozone an optimal currency area, which is not at all at the moment. So what I mean by this is that they should make it a more flexible area in order, to make workers to move from one place to another place, to make prices more flexible, to make salaries and wages more flexible. That is exactly what I mean.
In the long run, do you think the Eurozone is sustainable in its current form?
I think it is not sustainable in its current form. Because as I said before, the Eurozone is not an optimal currency area. So in order to make it sustainable, strict and severe structural reforms must be set in the agenda. So in case the ECB is given a clear mandate to preserve the purchasing power of the money, and in case the national treasuries are restricted to issue more, to issue more public bonds or to spend much more than they need to do, well, in that case, I would say that the monetary zone is sustainable.
Do you think that Eurobonds need to be a part of some kind of solution to Europe's problems at the moment? In other words, does the Eurozone need to collectivize its debts and stop, for example, banks were using Greek and Italian sovereign debt as collateral at the ECB for short-term loans, but if you created a Eurobond, presumably they wouldn't be allowed to use Greek and Italian bonds and such like in such deals.
Well, that's a difficult question, yes, indeed, because if you are issuing Eurobonds, you have to put clear again, you have to make a segment of responsibilities between the ones that are signing the bonds, So are the German taxpayers going to support the excessive debt of, say, Italy, Belgium or Spain? That's a very important question to put in the agenda as well. So, so far the ECB is accepting the Greek bonds as collateral for lending to the Greek banks. This is a short-term solution in order not to make the Greek banks collapse. But if they are going to move forward and to create a market of Eurobonds, they should make it clear first how they are going to divide the responsibilities of the payment of the extra borrowing of some countries.
Do you think that Spain will stay in the euro, and was it right for Spain and other southern European countries to have joined in the first place? Do you think it's been, on balance, even though they are facing difficulties at the moment, do you think that the euro forces them to face these difficulties in a way that, for example, the United Kingdom, armed with the printing press, isn't forced to do so?
Well, I must say that it has been a blessing for the Spanish economy. Yeah, even though I'm pretty much critic with the way the Eurozone was launched 11 years ago, if we compare the development of monetary policy in the last 11 years by the European Central Bank with the historical record of the Spanish authorities in the 19th and 20th centuries, okay, I must say that I would like to be a member of the Eurozone for longer. But even though I say this, and I do maintain this point, I must say that Spain should make strong efforts to resume its competitiveness in the currency area in order to avoid a massive external debt and external deficit again.
Sure. What do you think will be the greater threat to economies in the coming years around the world, inflation or deflation?
I mean, for the world economy?
For developed economies all over the world.
For developed economies? Well, it is not going to be a problem of deflation coming from increasing productivity. That's, I'm sure about that. If it is, it's going to be a problem of inflation coming from the excessive money supply coming from the Federal Reserve. Because you know that Federal Reserve is still the anchor, the monetary anchor of the international monetary system. And once the Federal Reserve is increasing by the QE measures, it's increasing money supply strongly, I must say. The only fear that I see in the medium to long term is inflationary pressures if they keep pushing this way.
Do you think that, for want of a better word, monetary elites would be willing to consider gold in some form of institutional role in the years ahead? Perhaps not a gold standard, but perhaps sort of a Bretton Woods type system, or just some way of stopping this sort of rampant effort at devaluation on behalf of all countries all over the world. Do you think that's a likelihood, or?
To be honest, I don't see it. I don't see governments restricting themselves to print money, just pegging the currencies to a fixed exchange rate, or even worse in their terms, I mean, tying their arms to the gold standard. What I do see is that maybe in the future we may see more competition in money markets. This may be a smaller step, but a safer step in the pursuit of what I would call some money, monetary competition.
Do you think that SDRs issued by the IMF, do you think that's going to be an increasingly prevalent feature of the world's monetary system in the years ahead?
Well, in regarding Europe, they are going to have a prominent role, I'm afraid. So yes, in some developed economies, the IMF rescue packages in combination with the packages of the whole Europe and the ECB is going to be a major role in solving the current crisis. We thought some years ago that the IMF programs were reserved for the underdeveloped economies and even for the emerging economies and not for the developed economies, and we were wrong.
What do you think ordinary people should look to do to try to protect themselves from the economic issues that they're likely to confront in the years ahead?
Well, even though they may be aware of the current threats of this scenario, this trouble scenario, they have little choices to escape from that. I'm afraid, because we have the legal tender clause of the money of the government. So the best thing they can do is to put their savings in better assets. When I mean better assets, I'm talking about the currencies, like the Swiss franc, for example, which has been a currency that preserves the purchasing power of the money. And why not some precious metals, such as gold or silver, which has been growing the last 10 years, I would say.
Final question, do you have any price targets for gold and silver, or any ways of valuing them?
I'm not a market analyst, so I don't have a technical prospect for the prices of gold and silver. But according to the management of the state-owned or national currencies in the last few years, I must say that the truly expansionary policies of especially the Fed in the last years is going to have a positive impact in the price of gold. That's what I think.
Dr. Juan Castañeda, Senior Lecturer at UNED University in Madrid and host of the website theoldladyofthreadneedlestreet.wordpress.com. Thank you for talking to the Gold Money Foundation.
Thank you very much.